We may still see some.
And now your local forecast. This is WeatherScope.
A dynamic storm sprawling from the plains to the southeast is causing a mixed bag of weather, including snow, sleet, and heavy rain on this Christmas Eve. Good evening and welcome to WeatherScope. I'm Mike Bono. We'll have the latest details on where the storm is headed on Christmas Day, but first, here's Jeff Morrow with a look at what's happening now.
He's in the on-deck circle, Mike. He'll be there about the 30 minutes down the road here. In the meantime, though, this is my last act of the night, and we're going to talk about the snow that fell today. First up, take you to the Chicagoland area. And once again, the snow has been fairly heavy at times in the Windy City. As you can see, the temperatures were warm enough to keep it mainly wet or liquid on the roadways, but north and west of town, that was probably a different story. Reports coming in now: Chicago, O'Hare Airport, 2 inches. Rockford reporting 4 inches, and in the Quad Cities area, Moline, Illinois checks in with a lofty 6-inch snow depth, and I believe all that is new. Joining me now, senior meteorologist Colin Marquis. And Colin, we've been tracking the Chicagoland situation much of the afternoon. Things are still going there, but now we're going to shift our emphasis some to the Ohio Valley. Some thunderstorms starting to line up.
Yeah, actually, interesting. They are forming basically on the leading edge of the really cold air aloft associated with the upper level low, which has been responsible in part for some of the heavier snow across Chicago and further to the north and west. But right now, you're right, in the last hour or so, we have seen some convection, some thunderstorms. Haven't seen too many lightning strikes on our detection system, but there are some heavier showers, perhaps with some embedded thunder.
And they should be fairly quick movers, I would suspect.
Yeah, I would think so too.
All right, let's check out this current map, Colin. We have our low pressure in southern Illinois. The winds are still off the water in Chicago, but might we see some backing of that wind as that low slides to their south and east overnight?
Absolutely. As wind rotates clockwise or counterclockwise around low pressure, this continues to move off to the east and northeast. Winds are going to shift from a east or northeast to north direction back toward the north and northwest eventually in time, and that's definitely going to maintain the low-level cold air in the Chicago area. Heaviest of snow now is shifted somewhat north of the Chicago area on toward Milwaukee, Sheboygan, and on toward west central lower Michigan.
And as far as the satellite picture goes, everything is moving right along now, so that's good news, I suspect, for the areas east of there, where there's actually some drier air sliding northward pretty quickly.
Yeah, we have a tremendous dry slot that is developing on the east side of the storm. Number one, that's helping to get rid of the rain across portions of the southeast. Number two, you can see it somewhat on this satellite shot, better on some of the radar imagery. The dry punch is flowing all the way into portions of southern Michigan right now, shutting off that once heavy rainfall mixed with sleet at times, and that's going to continue to make northward progress in time. Eventually it will get cut off at the pass, but right now we still have that dry slot moving northward in time.
And that plays out nicely on the radar scope as well. As you can see, as you mentioned, that dry punch getting well into lower Michigan now.
Yeah, now as the whole system, the upper low is down in about this area right here, that's going to also continue to moving off to the northeast. So at the same time we have dry air coming northward in time, as the whole low pressure system moves eastward in time, we're going to tend to shut off the dry punch into Michigan. So at some point this will halt, and I think probably Flint may be the northernmost boundary or location as far as where the dry air is going to reach.
Now, we've talked about all this movement, but I see a little bit of procrastination on the part of Mother Nature in the Chicagoland area.
Yeah, this is classic cold conveyor belt, we call this, and that's cold, moist air wrapping around in this fashion on the backside, on the north and northwest side of low pressure. And oftentimes, this is where you can get some of the heaviest snowfall in a particular winter storm situation. And right now, as I mentioned, getting a little bit of dry air intrusion into Chicago and points southward, but up toward Milwaukee here and Sheboygan, which is just a little bit farther north and stretching back toward Rockford, that's where the steadiest and heavy snow, and of course it is falling out over central Lake Michigan as well, but certainly not sticking.
Not a big matter right now.
Right.
Snowfall, now that it's nightfall, should be accumulating at a little better rate, I'd say.
That's right.
Too.
Even though it's cloudy and snowing, just enough sunlight actually gets through to warm some of those paved areas and actually makes it tougher to accumulate during the daytime and easier at night.
And unfortunately, the big hub, Chicago's O'Hare Airport, reporting 45-minute delays now. Mike Seidel brings that over to me. And there's that line of storms. Wanted to talk about that just a little briefly here.
Yeah, that's right. Again, upper low pressure centered right in here. All in upper level low is really a very cold pocket of air in the mid-levels of the atmosphere. And what does cold air in the middle atmosphere do? It destabilizes the atmosphere and promotes thunderstorms in this case. And that's what we're seeing from the lower Ohio Valley down just east of Nashville now, Bill.
And the leading edge, thankfully, rain for the travelers, Philadelphia, Baltimore, even into Bradford, PA, notoriously cold location, reporting rain at this hour.
Yeah, they're a little higher in elevation there. Typically what you see is the valley locations in north central Pennsylvania will keep that low-level cold air, and that's where they're going to have the icing problems.
And quick talk about Boston, probably some freezing rain, patchy freezing rain.
I think an initial problem with some glazing in Boston, but I think pretty quickly they go over to rain there.
On the Weather Channel, your local